Hello, my dear friends. I'm back again with some more juicy stories for you today, and of course, my insights on them. Today's first story is about a mother who doesn't see her son being in the wrong and blaming everyone else except him for his crappy behavior. Don't forget, guys, that enabling isn't helping. It's escaping from uncomfortable emotions. I think in this case, OP is escaping the fact that she raised a crappy person of a son. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My eldest son, let's call him David, used to be married to a German lady who we will call Maria. We all get along fine, and my husband and I really didn't see much of Maria and David unless it was to visit our two granddaughters. In 2019, David and Maria split up. My granddaughters were 14 and 10 at the time. David came to live with me and his dad for a few weeks whilst he found a place to stay, whilst Maria took the girls to another house in the same town we all live in, so we could still visit our granddaughters. For the most part, we all seemed to get along fine. Maria, my husband, and I used to meet up on occasions to see the girls. It was no secret that Maria and David didn't see eye to eye, and Maria used to vent to us about the way David would treat the girls. One year, David forgot my eldest granddaughter's, Nina's, 16th birthday, because he was spending the day with his new partner. I reminded Maria that David worked hard at his job, so deserved some time off, and didn't need to spend every second of every day with the girls. This made Maria really angry, and she told my husband and I to leave. It has been 2 years since that incident. My granddaughters are now 18 and 14. Recently, they came to stay with me and their grandfather. I overheard my youngest granddaughter, Ava, on the phone to Maria, and Maria was telling Ava that David had phoned Maria, saying that they would not be taking her and Nina on holiday with him, since he only wanted to take his new partner and her kid. Maria called David a rude name. When I heard this, I snatched Ava's phone and told Maria that Ava and Nina would stay with me and my husband until she apologized to me for insulting my son. Now, legally, I have no control over Nina, as she is now 18 and can technically do as she likes. But I still have control of Ava, more so seeing as I am her grandmother. Maria got angry with me, so I hung up the phone and locked it in a drawer. When Nina heard about this, she blew up and screamed at me that she was going to take Ava home because of my bad behavior. I reminded her that I was their grandmother, so therefore I had more to say over what they did, as I am older and therefore deserve more respect. Nina called me deluded and left with Ava, leaving their belongings behind, not bothering to pack. Neither of the girls will speak to me or their grandfather. Maria has blocked me on all social platforms, so I cannot even see how my granddaughters are doing. I feel as though I'm being punished for standing up for my son, so I've come here for a fair judgment. Am I the a-hole? Well, OP's son is clearly in the wrong here, and OP is still taking his side. OP sounds like a helicopter parent to me. OP's son forgets his daughter's birthday. OP's son leaves his daughters behind to spend time with his partner's child instead, which makes him an a-hole. But OP doesn't see it. She instead punishes her granddaughters and mother for being upset with OP's son. OP's son is the problem, and OP is enabling him. Maria is right to cut off contact. And now let's see what the community thinks about the situation. Wayward Marauder says, "Your son is a deadbeat father, and you tried to kidnap your granddaughter because you think being old gives you some special privileges. Congratulations on making sure you don't get to see them again. You're the a-hole." Oak Sand Pines 1776 says, "You're the a-hole, and so is your son. Those girls see their father as the loser he is. Their mother has way more control and say over her daughters than you do as a grandparent. And what the heck does their mother being German have to do with anything?" Puppy Gito says, "You're the a-hole. Your son is prioritizing his new partner and her child over his own children. Sounds like you don't like hearing the truth about him." 4 years ago, my mom and brother got into a car accident. My brother was 15 at the time and learning to drive. He crashed into a sports car out of panic because mom was screaming at him for messing up on parking. Insurance wouldn't pay, and my parents had to pay out the sports car owner. This really financially hurt us. Some of the money had to come out of my own college fund, as my parents' names were also on it. As a result, I missed out on an internship and an opportunity to study abroad because I couldn't afford it. Thanks, Mom. Recently, I was on leave for Thanksgiving. I'm 23 and single. Most girls in my town around my age are already married or have great jobs or are in med school or law school. I'm enlisted in the Navy. Not out of patriotism, but because the benefits are good. Mom was complaining about how I'm still not married or in grad school. I snapped and told her, if you didn't bankrupt us after that accident you caused, maybe I'd find a husband at original college. Maybe I wouldn't need to enlist. My dad and most of the family are pissed for making her cry and ruining Thanksgiving. I may have gone overboard, but I think I was in the right. We're stuck in this quagmire because of an accident she caused. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Just to clarify, I was contributing to my college fund with money from relatives and from a part-time job I had in high school. I know I'm not entitled to travel abroad or go to a fancy school. 2 of my friends who are married now met their husbands through a study abroad exchange and now live overseas. My mom did pressure me to date while attending the crappy state school, SSS. I didn't because the guys are a bunch of losers who would go back to their podunk towns after graduation. And frankly, I don't want kids just to spite her. She is desperate to be a grandma. I think OP's mom has no right to have a go at OP over OP's relationship status. It's frankly none of her business. What comes to OP? It was an accident 4 years ago. Crap happens, and I think OP needs to get over it and move on. It wasn't money that OP earned, and plenty of people have managed to go to college in spite of lacking funds. OP comes across as very entitled. Let's see what the community thinks. Willful Serenity says, everyone sucks here. Look, you've been carrying around this grudge against your parents for using money that was set aside by them for your college expenses. I get the frustration, but it sounds like they didn't have any other options at the time. Did your mom cause the accident by pressuring your brother and screaming? Maybe. Did this really have any play into your situation of being single at 23? No, I seriously doubt it. And yeah, your mom stepped out of line asking about your status, but you also decided to lash back with an old grudge. How do you think this grudge is affecting your brother? Your bitter comments may be directed at your mom, but I'm willing to bet he's feeling quite guilty for the accident. You can't control the actions of others, but you can at least control your reaction to negative circumstances. Agorios Bum says, everyone sucks here. Your mom sucks for complaining about not being married at age 23, plus about the grad school bit when she is partially to blame. You're the a-hole for blaming your mom for an accident caused primarily by your brother, not your mom. The driver has to be mostly at fault. You also have a fantasy notion of this magic life that exists in a different timeline where you didn't enlist in the Navy and got to study abroad. No one made you enlist in the Navy. Tons of people have zero money from their parents for college. You said you still had some college fund. You have to find a way to stop hating your mom for being in a car accident. I, female 18, was born from a product of an affair. My mom was married when she met my dad, and one thing led to another, and she got pregnant. They decided to keep the baby, and I would spend the majority of the time at my dad's and visit my mom every few months. When I was 14, my dad died in a car accident, so I went to live with my mom for 6 months before I moved in with my grandparents on the West Coast. I'm originally from New York City. My grandparents spoiled me from the day that I moved in, from getting a nice car to spending well over $3,000 a month without being an issue. This continued when I visited my family in New York City, too. They would always come with me, and I would opt to stay in the hotel with them over my mom. Well, when I turned 18, I found out I had inheritance from my dad. It's a huge amount of money, and I've been meeting with a financial advisor to invest and be able to live off of it for the rest of my life. I went to visit my family last week where I let it slip that I had gotten inheritance. This immediately sent a shockwave through my mom's family, as none of them went to college or anything and work minimum wage jobs. The next day when I went over, they had planned multiple things that I knew they couldn't afford: luxury shopping, spa treatments, etc. I asked them where they got the money, and they all laughed at me. They figured I was sharing my money with all of them, but I wasn't. I'm not close with any of them. My sisters aren't even my sisters, they're half-sisters. I get my mom nice things, but I don't tend to get them much, as they always left me out and made comments about me being a snob and other things. When I told them that I didn't plan on sharing it, as this is the money I have to live off of, they blew up on me. They said that I could change their lives, but I'm being greedy. I told them that I would help pay for college, but they didn't want to do that. They sent me texts saying things like, I already have pretty privilege, and I can get money from my grandparents too. My grandparents support my decision of how they treated me in the past, and that it was my dad's dream for me not to work. So am I the a-hole for not sharing it with them? OP's mom didn't even raise OP. OP's dad did. Unless I misunderstood, she didn't really become a part of OP's life until OP's dad died. and she was fine letting OP's grandparents finish raising OP. Looks like OP's mom and her family don't even see OP as a person. They see OP as a bank account. I'd go low contact with them, at the very least. Let's see what the community has to say. Captain 24 says, "Yeah, because spa treatments and luxury shopping is totally changing their lives. Not the a-hole. You're in no obligation to share money with people you aren't close with, OP." Ruts Buttercup says, "Ironically, people who just assume that they get a share of someone else's inheritance and then plan their spending spree would not have their lives meaningfully changed by getting the money." User says, "Not the a-hole. Do not give them money for college. Do not give any money to anyone who calls you a snob or tries to guilt trip you into giving them money. If they keep asking, stop talking to them. You're an adult, you can do what you want, and you don't need these leeches in your life. Also, your financial person probably told you this already, but set a budget in advance for how much you want to spend on other people each month or year so that you don't get carried away, even with people you like." I was an affair baby, though it's complicated. My mom was not married. She was actually divorced from my sister's bio dad, but they were back together and had my sister. Mom treated him like crap. He left her, and then I was born a few months later. When I was 6 months old, my mom got arrested. The man I have known as my dad my whole life, sister's bio dad, did not want us to grow up apart, so he took me in. My bio is a piece of crap. He had a son after me and was trying to use him to get to me. Dad tried to help us have contact, but bio showed not to be a good parent, and so Dad reported him to CPS. Dad ended up adopting him too. So the three of us were raised together. My sister, the only bio of Dad's, but us not caring because he treated all three of us the same. I'm used to comments about me not being Dad's real daughter, or how he only adopted my brother because he wanted a son if he had to raise two girls. Where we grew up, people were nosy, gossiped a lot, and were unafraid of being mean. But I've always loved that the people closest to me never saw us as less of a true family, and never said those hurtful things. I'm married, and my husband is one of those people who was never awful about it. But his family were confused the first time they met us, and we were clearly not a bio family. They expected me to have my husband's dad walk me down the aisle at my wedding, have said how sad it is I never knew my dad, and many other comments about not having a real parent. My husband and I took a break from them because they would not listen to him and stop saying those things. They apologized, and we had just started being around them again when they said our future children would at least have 2 grandparents. My husband said our kids would have 3. They brushed him off. So we were done again. But I was so mad that I really leaned in on what they were saying. I pointed out how terrible it is to have a dad who loves his kids regardless of blood, and instead, 2 criminal parents would have been better parents, who would not be good to their kids. And I went into details about just how bad things would have been with bio, and how ducked up my mom is. I wanted them to feel bad for ever implying the man who saved my brother and I, and who raised us, was less our parent. And it worked. They were mad though, and said on top of depressing everyone, I was an a-hole for trying to make them feel like crap. My husband thought it was amazing because it really stopped them in their tracks. But now I feel like I might have gone too far, especially with the anger his family showed. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. They feel like crap because they are crappy. Now they know it as well as everyone else. They don't like being called out on it. That is their main problem, but won't admit it. Maine Pony Mom says, not the a-hole. They sound like they're trying to isolate you from your family, especially with that 2 grandparents comment, particularly telling that they don't admit they were jerks. They just accused you of making them feel like jerks. It will always be your fault, not theirs, in their eyes. Blue Conte says, a parent doesn't have anything to do with blood, and you said nothing false, mean, personal, or insulting. I'm Dutch, and we're all direct and outspoken a-holes here. That might color my opinion because I would have said something like this to anyone, even my boss or mother-in-law, and wouldn't feel bad about it for 1 second. There's a reason they feel like crap. That reason being that their behavior has been crap, and they can't handle being confronted with it. Let me get one thing out of the way. My dad is an a-hole. His a-hole status is not in dispute. My dad, 46, married my mom, 42, 21 years ago. They had me, 19, and my sister, 16. My dad then divorced my mom for wife number 2. We'll call her Abigail. Abigail was 21 when she married my dad, and they had been having an affair for 2 years. My dad was 34 at the time. I did not get on with Abigail at first. I blamed her for destroying my parents' marriage. We were very hostile to each other until she had my half-brother, 9, who I love and adore. They then had my second half-brother, 5, who I'm also a huge fan of. My dad left Abigail 2 years ago, and last month he remarried. His new wife is 20. Abigail and I buried the hatchet long ago, and we even have civil conversations, mostly about how much of an a-hole my dad is, so, relatively civil. Which leads me to my potential a-hole behavior. At my little brother's birthday party, Abigail and I were chatting about how worthless my dad is, not in front of the kids, obviously, and she started to disparage his new wife. This rubbed me the wrong way, because Abigail helped my dad cheat on my mom. Yeah, this girl is dumb for marrying an older guy who's a serial cheater, but she seems nice enough. I said as much to Abigail, who called the new wife a gold digger and a floozy. I told Abigail that turnabout is fair play. She's been replaced with a younger model, just like she replaced my mom. She got red in the face and stormed off. Did I go too far? Well, OP told the truth, and it was an ugly truth for Abigail. Abigail just learned that how you get 'em is how you lose 'em. She was the younger model to OP's mom, and now the new girl is the newer version of her. OP's father had kids with her and lost interest. I really don't think OP was wrong, to be honest. I don't really think OP rubbed it in. OP just stated the obvious. She's salty because she can finally feel the pain that OP's mom, OP, and OP's sister felt. Welcome to the club, ex-stepmommy, the Wrong by OP's Dad Club. The new wife will join shortly when OP's dad is done with her. And let's see what the community says. A madman with a plan says, not the a-hole. A 19 to 22-year-old can be manipulated into a crappy marriage, especially by a talented and manipulative a-hole like your dad. But since Abigail literally did the same thing this girl is doing, she doesn't have a lot of room to be rude about her, without looking like an idiot herself. If anything, this would be a great redeeming moment for her to sit this girl down and be like, this is the kind of man he is. This is what he's done in the past. You've been warned. Corgi Huntress says, not the a-hole. Truth hurts, and she has her own choices and the consequences. It might not have been the kindest thing to say, but it was honest. RN Gen X3 says, not the a-hole. Sorry, she was being a major hypocrite. While a 21-year-old is easier to manipulate than someone his own age, 21 is still old enough to know that cheating and being a homewrecker is bad.